What Optifine does is, let's go ahead and start a new world. What Optifine does is it gives you more options. We'll just call it my name. It gives you more options to either turn up or turn down your settings depending on how powerful or not powerful your computer is, which is really cool. It also gives you different ways you can render the world, different ways you can show grass and other textures, and overall it is just a really cool and helpful mod. I'll show you some of the settings that they have, and how I run it is generally from my computer. So I run it about far. Now one of the best parts that I've seen so far out of this is the chunk loading. Default chunk loading, generally you can see when you first start your game and then you go to new areas, the FPS is ridiculous. It'll go all the way up and it'll drop and it'll go back up again. And it's just ridiculous how much of a variance there is. What's cool about the smooth chunk loading is it loads things in sequential order around you instead of loading like huge chunks of what it's thinking about right in front of you. So I can do a little bit of an experimentation with that. This is a brand new seed that hasn't been loaded before. And did I put this on creative? No, I didn't. But anyway, we can walk around a little bit, and you'll see that everything is rendering really smooth. Everything looks nice and pretty. And there isn't any frame rate drops whatsoever, which is really, really cool, because generally Minecraft complains when you go to brand new lands. And it's really helpful for people that maybe have the best computer in the world, but it helps me in general because I get better frame rates, less stuttering, so I can make videos for you guys. So anyway, there's that part of it. There's also the new advanced OpenGL options, which is kind of cool. I run it on fast. What it is basically, and you can see over there in the background, right over here, it's loading more world. Basically what it does is when it's loading your world, also it's really helpful in conjunction with chunk loading, when it's loading your world, it loads only what you see. It loads what you see to cut down on CPU cycles if you're using fast. As it says, only visible geometry, which is really, really cool. Basically what it does is it increases your frame rates redundant of what's going on, because all the GPU and the CPU together has to render is what you see in front of you. It doesn't have to load any depth, and it saves room and it saves cycles by doing so. So it's really smooth, looks really cool, and it's not very hard on your computer. And it's also nice if you're trying to do this and do a couple other things like look up a video or look for tutorials or something like that. It's also a really helpful, really cool mod that'll help you with that too. There's a couple more things I'll go over. The render distance. The render distance can be cranked. I mean, literally cranked. Far is what I run mine on, because anything more and it's ridiculous. Basically what it can do is it can effectively double how far you can render. Now, bear in mind, rendering it on extreme, which is the super far preset, will really set you back on CPU resources and GPU resources. You will be hitting your computer hard, and it's not recommended to do extreme unless you're running a really high-end system. But it's really cool that you can go farther than what the game allows you. It gives you those options. They're there in place, and you can use them if you'd like. Some of these sort of things are the same. There's a couple new things, like on grass. You can do different kinds of grass, default grass, fast or fancy. Basically, they just look better, or they look worse, depending on how much you want to save in terms of usage. So you can do other things, or if your computer isn't exactly up to snuff or fast enough, you can turn it down some of the settings and make it run a bit better, which is pretty cool. If you have capes, if you went to Minecon, you understand you got a cool little cape if you went to Minecon. They gave you a code there. If stars, rendering the stars above your head at night takes too much for your computer, it's too much for your computer, you can just turn them off and it'll help you out there. You can do the same with the sky, the sun, the moon. You can turn off fog, which also helps, and fog at bedrock levels, which is is really cool. You can just turn all that off, so if you're gonna be digging that deep looking for diamonds or gold or ores, whatever you're looking for, depending on what mods you're running, if you need to go that low, that fog will be gone and you don't have to worry about it if you just click it off. You can have different kinds of water, fast or fancy, and they just look better. Same with trees and clouds. Some of the animations, generally these come preset all on. And also when you're playing the game, they're all on. What you can do is turn some of these off if it's causing your computer to drag too hard. Like the animation on the water, the slightly moving pixels on the water when you look at it, like here you can see how it slightly moves. If that makes your computer strain too hard, you can go in here and you can turn that off actually, which is really, really cool. You can just turn all that off and there'll no longer be an animation, and it'll cut down on computer use resources. Or if I would click it right, I'd get it right. But anyway, you understand what I mean here. But that's really cool. Oh, it's because I turned on dynamic. Okay, off. Okay, now you see there's no animation. And it probably helps a lot of you people if it takes too much resources for you to load that. So let's go ahead and go on to the next section in here. Let's go ahead and turn my water back. And the next section is texture packs. Of course, you can change your texture pack to whatever you want. Right now I'm just running default because I just updated to 1.3.2. You can either change the performance if you're on a laptop and you don't want to burn down your battery as quick. You can turn it on power saver or balanced, and that will help you out to achieve your needs when it comes to power efficiency. Bobbing is of course when you walk, the slight bob your character does with its arm in the corner, which is pretty cool. Fog start. Basically, you can modify how deep in the fog starts from your player. If it's too close or it causes too much of your computer to render it, you can just toss it way back to where you can't even see it, which is really cool because it helps out on your computer usage again. Now, some of these settings are more for wanting it to look better. You can make it like I've done here. You can make the bitmap, which makes like farther objects look better, and also anisotropic filtering, which makes farther items look more sharp and more detailed. The bitmap type is basically an extension of bitmap level, which makes it look better, and then even so makes it smoother on the texture pack. Anti-aliasing, I leave it off just because it will really kill your frame rates, and it only takes a restart, and you can turn on anti-aliasing. It's really cool. Random mobs is basically you can randomize the color textures on the mobs if your texture pack supports it. Snow, the snow will look better. Same with colors. Smooth biomes, meaning the transition on the biomes is much more natural, much more understandable, I guess you could say. It doesn't go straight from a bog to like a massive forest. It actually has a little bit more transition to it. Connected textures. This is if you're like putting in glass panes in your house. It's how well it connects to the textures around it. So basically, bear in mind, the higher it is, the better it'll look. So I have it on fancy, so it looks nice and pretty. And you can change around with the grass. I have it on fast right now because I want to get as many frame rates out of here as I can. Make sure it's nice and smooth for you guys. You can change the fonts to make them look better or worse, however you want to do it. You can turn on clear water, which makes the water look transparent, so you can see down into like here into the gully, and you can see all of the like animals and wildlife and such that are in there. And I think we're getting to be done here. I just got done with that. Performance. Now this is kind of cool. What you can do is you can limit how many chunk updates per frame. So if you're doing 60 frames a second, if you limit it to one chunk a frame, you can only do 60 chunk updates every frame. So if you're going 60, you do 60 chunk updates a second, which is pretty cool. You can limit how fast it loads, and it'll make you have a much smoother frame rate experience, which is nice. Same with smooth input. Preloaded chunks basically means you can get closer or you can be farther away from somewhere, and it will load more chunks to anticipate where you're going to walk. And that also helps by loading the world quicker. It'll load the world quicker as long as your computer is powerful enough to do that. You don't want to turn that on if you're running a low-end computer, like a low-end graphics card, because it will need a ton of time to load all the different chunks. If you guys notice also, I've got a new headset, so my quality hopefully is a little bit better than it was before. Dynamic updates basically means if you're standing still doing nothing, looking at a chest or smelting something, it will dynamically update your background and load more chunks for you while you're doing nothing. That requires a lot of resources. So that's all pretty cool. Smooth FPS smooths out your frame rate, and yeah, I think for the most part that's pretty much it. This is more for saving server textures, basically dealing with your texture pack full screen, of course. Weather, if you want weather to happen or not, and debug info for the developer. So kudos to the developer of this. Optifine is a really cool mod, and I hope you guys enjoyed my video.
Hey guys, I didn't want you to forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. It's all greatly appreciated. Thanks.